KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
According to the report, the three skiers parked at the Stevens Lake Winter Trailhead just after 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday the 11th and started their trek up. They even passed an avalanche forecaster in the field and discussed conditions. By 12:14, the trio made their first descent before then heading back up to ski different terrain. On the second descent, a couple of hours later, they decided to go one at a time in an effort to minimize risks. The first skier descended roughly 400 feet and radioed his friends from a presumably safe location. During the second skier's descent, the avalanche, 400 feet wide by 1,000 feet long, triggered, burying skiers 1 and 2. Using his beacon, skier 3 quickly started searching and found skier 2, whose airbag was deployed. He was pinned against a tree. He unburied him and cleared his airway, but there were no signs of life, according to the report. Skier 1 had been swept farther down. His airbag also deployed, and he was able to dig himself out. He suffered a broken forearm. The surviving pair then sent out an SOS on their GPS, which was relayed to rescuers. But poor weather kept helicopters grounded, and in the end, the survivors had to hike out most of the way on their own until rescuers reached them.
It was a sight to see at the Coeur d'Alene Resort Marina Monday.
It's definitely going under.
A sight Jennifer Fitzgerald just had to check out for herself.
Well, of course, there's a lot of talk about what happened on G-Dock, and so I wanted to see that, but I also wanted to check on our boats down on D-Dock.
Her boats are still afloat. The same cannot be said for this one. And it wasn't the only boat to go down on Lake Coeur d'Alene. Last week, Eastside Fire District responded to this sinking houseboat. The district tells KREM 2 News it's unknown what caused the houseboat to capsize, but it has been floated back up to water level since. It's also still unknown what caused this boat to sink, but Fitzgerald guesses recent weather had something to do with it.
You know, we had lots of storms, and then we had a lot of snow, and then we had a lot of precipitation, so there was some weight. So I don't know whether or not the boat just had succumbed to the weight of all of the snow, ice, and wind and everything else that we've had.
I did speak with someone with the Coeur d'Alene Resort, which owns the marina and rents out these slips, but they had no information on the boat or what caused it to go under.
It is definitely held up by the lines and whatever buoyancy the boat has.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Well, according to court documents, the 22-year-old told police he thought he was home alone until he heard snoring coming from his mom's bedroom. Cody Low told police he recognized the man he found in her closet. Now that man is dead, and some of Low's family members are claiming he acted in self-defense.
Aside from a reckless driving conviction, Cody Low has a clean criminal history. Now the 22-year-old is being charged with second-degree murder.
Apparently the suspect is in that apartment in his mother's bedroom.
Low is accused of shooting and killing 53-year-old Willie Anderson, a man he's known for most of his life. According to court docs, Low thought he was home alone early Wednesday morning in the South Hill apartment he shared with his mom. He grabbed a gun when he heard someone snoring in his mom's bedroom.
Apparently he knows the suspect. He says his name is Will. They had some words and things got heated, so he shot him.
Low told police he told Anderson to get out and followed him around the apartment as the 53-year-old looked for his shoes, according to court docs. Then, Low says Anderson raised his arms quickly, and that's when Low told police he closed his eyes and pulled the trigger.
He's telling us his mom is showing up now and going into the apartment.
Police interviewed Low's mother, who said she snuck Anderson into the apartment through her bedroom window before she left, and apparently didn't tell her son he was inside. Anderson and Low's mom were in the process of rekindling a relationship, according to court docs.
He has a lot of family and friends supporting him.
Low wiped away tears as his grandmother spoke in court this afternoon, telling the court her grandson is not a threat to the community and certainly not a killer.
We'd like to ask the court to see this as we do, as a self-defense.
Low's family asked Court Commissioner Eugene Cruz to release him without bond. He did not grant their wish and poked holes in that self-defense argument.
Mr. Anderson had permission to be in that apartment, had permission to be with your mother. You had indicated that it was your intention to pull the trigger. And you also indicated to officers that Mr. Anderson never threatened or harmed you.
Prosecutors asked the court to set Low's bond at $1 million. Commissioner Eugene Cruz ended up setting it at $100,000. Cody Low denied our request for a jailhouse interview. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News. Well, thankfully, no firefighters were hurt. The woman who lost control and slammed into the back of Ladder 10 received minor injuries. The Spokane Valley Fire Department tells us it could be a few months before Ladder 10 returns to service. They don't expect any disruption in service because they are bringing in a reserve truck to that fire station. Now, this whole thing happened Saturday around 2:30 in the afternoon. The eastbound lanes of I-90 were extremely icy. Spokane Valley Ladder 10 was driving out to a burst pipe call when they witnessed a two-car slide-off. They went to investigate and make sure all the drivers were all right. Then, as they were about to clear the scene, another car lost control and slammed into the back of the ladder truck.
So we were literally 20 feet from the apparatus, kind of walking back up, and we saw this car lose control. My engineer yelled, "She's going to hit the truck." We both stood there and watched, and she came in at a high rate of speed, just sideways. There's nothing she could do. Struck the back of the truck, and it was a huge explosion. That actually, the patient in the ditch she was emotional from the first accident. She became very emotional now after just hearing that. And so my engineer yelled that this is a red patient and we're going to need extrication.
And Captain Dave Griffiths tells us they were able to extract the woman in less than 2 minutes. She was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Again, he expects Ladder 10 will be out of service for a few months, and the fire department is now using a reserve truck at that fire station. Spokane Valley Fire says this incident serves as an important reminder to slow down and move over anytime you see first responders on the side of the road, and it's also a state law. Reporting in Spokane Valley, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
A new development could be on its way to Spokane Valley. This empty 4-acre lot just north of the Valley Mall may soon be the home of a future Dave & Buster's.
There's nothing wrong with more options for people to go.
Mike Handelin is a bowling manager for players and spectators in Spokane Valley. The bowling alley is one of only 2 in the valley.
This place has been busy. You come in here and you can pretty much expect you're going to have to wait for lanes.
Handelin says he doesn't mind another entertainment business coming into town.
It's good for the economy. It's good for the growth. It gives people things to do.
At the beginning of this month, Dave & Buster's filed an application with the city of Spokane Valley to begin the process of developing a new location in the city. The current plan is to build a new 30,000 square foot building northwest of the Spokane Valley Mall.
We just want to have fun with our kids. We want to be able to play those old games that we played.
Danica Dixon grew up in Spokane. She's been a fan of the entertainment chain since she was a teenager.
I remember having fun with our parents. Truly enjoyed the entire family.
The city hopes to continue bringing in large retailers like Dave & Buster's through its retail recruitment strategy, though didn't specifically say if this planned development was part of that recruitment strategy. As the city grows, it says it's a priority to introduce more retail businesses in the community.
Being able to see the community grow in the entertainment side of things, it gives me a lot of hope for this generation.
The city says that building permits have not been issued yet, so for now, Handelin and his employees can continue to attract people looking for fun.
And we're actually looking at putting more games in our game room now. We've done a big upgrade with our bowling center side.
We reached out to Dave & Buster's, but they had no comment at this time.
Amidst the excitement, Dave & Buster's fans might still have to wait a while. The city of Spokane Valley says there's not yet a timeline for when construction could begin. In Spokane Valley, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
You can learn a lot about someone in 10 minutes.
Fired from my last job, and then my money just ran out for my rent and stuff.
Well, I had a heart attack, and I couldn't work.
Tonight, inside the Union Gospel Mission, homeless men opened up to complete strangers, revealing how they ended up here.
It helps with your empathy a lot to understand full situations when it comes to this.
Molly Hansen is a senior at Whitworth University studying housing and homelessness. She's one of roughly 200 volunteers surveying Spokane County's homeless population during this year's point-in-time count.
Have you been asked the point-in-time survey before?
No, ma'am.
No.
Russell Moore lost housing in September.
Last winter, I got sick back to back, and I used up all my sick time, and I was over 3 days more than they allowed. But they had to let me go.
Too sick to work, Moore says he burned through his savings paying rent. Now he's living at UGM.
Hopefully by next year, I will have a job and housing.
Moore hopes he won't need to be counted next year. So does Victor Ruiz.
8 months ago, I wasn't homeless.
Ruiz suffered a heart attack and used up the money in his 401k. He moved in with his in-laws, then his father-in-law died, and the family lost their home. Now Ruiz is on a waiting list to get into an apartment.
I was really nervous about being here. And I tell you what, I am pleasantly surprised. This is a very good place.
The point-in-time count helps the city and service providers better understand what people need, what's working, and what can be improved.
So within that survey, we'll have lots of great questions as to why they may not have utilized the shelter, why they would go to a shelter, and shelters maybe that they didn't agree with or reasons why they don't.
The annual count is intentionally held in the winter to get a sense of how many people are sleeping outside in the most extreme conditions. It's also when the city of Spokane funds additional shelters. Data collected helps determine how much federal aid the city receives to combat homelessness. Last year, volunteers counted and surveyed 2,390 homeless men and women. This graph shows how many were unsheltered, 955 last year compared to 310 in 2018. Tonight's count focused on people in shelters like UGM. Between now and Saturday, volunteers will also look for people living outside or in their cars across Spokane County. The results of this year's count will be released this spring. In Spokane, Kyle Simcha, KREM 2 News.
I'm gonna get your neck for you, okay? All right.
It's been one of the most popular stops for 12 years running.
So you live in Spokane? Yeah.
A casual conversation during a clip.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just one way of making a connection.
Housing, there's healthcare, there's food banks. If you know what you need, the chances are real good you'll find something down here at the Homeless Connect.
Spokane's Homeless Connect is Eastern Washington's largest homeless resource fair, a one-stop shop of services that can transform lives.
We're expecting a big turnout today.
Maurice Smith says over the last decade plus, the Connect has not only drawn in larger crowds, but they've seen the changes leading to greater numbers of people who are unhoused or facing homelessness.
That's another area where it's growing, and there's these folks who are living on the bubble.
This year, they're seeing even more people who can't afford rent. Sean White says family issues led to his living on the streets in late October.
I hope to be out of the situation I'm in right now.
Robert Luke's situation is less new, but his perspective on taking care of his mental health and substance use is.
Putting my life together, I'm going to take this opportunity because I didn't think I was going to have a chance. I thought I was going to die out there.
He says his first Homeless Connect is a chance to thank service providers he's worked with for years.
Now I see them all in one place, and it's like a kind of a wraparound team.
Connections, giving both men a clearer path.
No, I've learned a lot.
And the hope.
I learned that there's a lot of people out there that are kind enough to give you a helping hand.
To change their lives.
And I'm fortunate to be one of those people.
We could really benefit this much all the time. But it's all out there. We just have to put it all together. You know?
This is just the second year that the Homeless Connect has returned in person post-pandemic, and it is expected this afternoon more than 1,200 people could come through the convention center. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
This is setting 1, and this is setting 2.
This light looks like any other one that you might use around the house.
I turn it on and just allow the light to, kind of touch my skin as I'm getting ready.
But it actually can be a powerful tool in helping people with seasonal depression.
So it helps with the circadian rhythm, and so in certain studies, using phototherapy or, using this light, It is said to mimic some of the sunlight's rays to help reproduce some of the chemicals in your brain that the sun would normally do.
David Wilson is a therapist in Spokane Valley who specializes in working with people with depression. But he says seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder can often have different symptoms that you might not recognize immediately.
Generally, we're looking at a low, sad, or depressed mood. And so sometimes sad looks like mad in a lot of our teenagers and a lot of my men clients. One of the things that we see that is kind of a little bit different is the increase in carbs. So everybody finds that, like, it's the holidays and you're just like eating because it's holidays, but generally we see an increase in craving of carbs.
Other things to keep an eye out for are sleeping too much or too little, trouble with making decisions, and extreme weight loss or gain.
The next piece is like a disinterest in things that you're normally interested in. So like if you're into hiking or biking or playing guitar or, having card night with your friends, and then all of a sudden you find that you're no longer interested in it.
Wilson says if you think you have seasonal depression, there are some things you can try to do to bring your mood up.
You think about planning trips, especially if you can get to someplace that's sunny. Whether it's, a part of Washington where the sun shines more often over the winter, or getting down to, California, Arizona, places like that.
But most importantly, if you feel depressed at any time of year, reach out to a licensed professional for help.
Well, the city of Spokane Valley has done surveys over the years and heard from residents who think this current logo is dated and unprofessional. This is it right here. But take a look at what they're proposing. This is what the city's communications team has come up with. Tonight, council members seem to be divided on this possible change. The city of Spokane Valley celebrated its 20th birthday last year. A lot has changed over the past 2 decades, but the city's logo has not.
Our current logo is not as strong as it could be. Our colors are a little dated, our font as well.
Communications manager Jill Smith says the city has conducted 3 studies over the last 7 years, surveying hundreds of residents. She says the vast majority think the current logo should be improved.
Findings from the studies all recommended that the city really was due for an update to our brand.
The current logo is used on business cards, letterheads, city vehicles, and park signs.
How much will it cost the taxpayers in man-hours and money in changing over from what we have now? I am thinking that is a chunk of change, especially when our priority is providing more police officers.
No one is suggesting that we replace everything or spend money on replacing anything that currently uses the original logo. This would simply move forward. So if we're buying a new vehicle, if we need to replace letterhead, business cards, for example, you will begin to move forward with the new logo look and feel.
Tonight, Smith presented council members with the new logo and asked for consensus to move forward.
But I'm not excited about changing the logo.
The council was tied, 3 for and 3 against changing the logo. Then Councilman Al Merkel changed his mind and gave it the green light to move forward. Merkel also asked if any of the surveys indicated support for changing the city's name. He doesn't support that idea, however.
A lot of citizens who want to think about changing the name, that if was there anything in those surveys that said that would be an interesting thing to do, to move away from the Spokane Valley part to, what did they say, Spoval or the Valley or whatever we're using in marketing?
That has come up a number of times, and we did look at it seriously and had consultants weigh in on it. And every time the message that came back was leave the name alone.
The city's logo won't officially change until council members pass a resolution. However, that could happen soon. In the studio, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
The 31-year record is no more. We have a new Idaho State scoring champion, and his name is Case Why Not.
Man, it was special, man. Just the whole community came out. There was so much support, and I can't thank the Lapwood community enough and my teammates and coaches. It was just a big weight off my shoulders. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time, and now I can just go and focus on winning my 3rd state championship.
Both Why Not's dad and Coach Eastman mentioned Why Not's work ethic and his affinity for always making the right play.
He knows basketball. He's a student of the game, and he understands, hey, they're doubling me, tripling me. You saw tonight, doubled without the ball, and we just find guys wide open underneath the basket. That's Case.
Case Wynot is just a role model, and he's done it the right way through hard work and dedication. And for him to do this in front of our crowd is just a really special moment for us.
And it takes a lot. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that people don't see. I put in a lot of work. I come in here every morning and shoot 500 shots, and it's all just paying off.
After securing the scoring record, next up on Wynot's wish list is a third state championship in revenge for last year's state championship game lost before heading off to Utah State to begin his college career. For now, reporting in Lapwai, Andrew Quinn, KREM 2 Sports.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.